Hello! I'm Naomi and I'm in Korea right now. I am mixed Korean, Korean and Dutch, and I've been now in Korea for 6 weeks. I'm only here as a visit to visit my family, and the first month I was with my mother. The last time that I was here was 7 years ago. Now that I'm here, so many things have changed. I've been visiting a lot of places with family, but also the past weeks I've been also a lot by myself. During my stay I developed some kind of skills and tools that I use to kind of survive in Korea. So after the first video I made with some tips to come to Korea, now I thought to make another video with some personal tips that I use while I'm in Korea. Some recent COVID updates are that you don't need to wear a mask outside anymore. The only thing is that a lot of people are still wearing a mask outside, so I think the social pressure is kind of high and people are very careful. What I do is often when there are not a lot of people outside, then I just take off my mask, but if it's really crowded then I put on my mask again. But now, since it's getting hotter and hotter, I noticed that a lot of people are starting to not wear their mask outside anymore, so it's not mandatory anymore, but a lot of people still do it. Also, the Q code is only to get into Korea, but after that you don't need it anymore. Since I've been here, I haven't used it at all. It's still in my luggage, so the hard part is only to get to Korea, but when you're here everything is quite okay and fine. When you come to Korea, the first thing you will need to get is a T-money card. A T-money card is basically a subway card, but you can also use it for the buses. You can also pay your rides in the cab, and you can pay in convenience stores. Everywhere where you see a T-money card logo with pay or something, you can pay with your T-money card. The nice thing is I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands transportation is so expensive, but when I'm here transportation is really cheap, so I often put 10,000 won on my money card and then I can use it for like a week or maybe longer, maybe shorter. You can reload them. There are these vending machines where it's always also written in English, where you can kind of buy your T-money card and then it will print one for you. So something that is good to know is there are 3 different kind of trains. There is the subway train, there's the ITX and the KTX. The subway is basically the one that you always see when you go to the subway. You can always easily recognize them because the chairs are always facing each other. The ITX is like the normal train, I think, and it can bring you to other kind of cities and it will go a bit faster. You need a separate ticket for that, so you cannot use the T-money card. You always need a separate ticket for the ITX, and you can buy them at like train stations, a bit bigger ones. They are not the same as the subway machines, but you see like ticket vending places, or you can go to like this ticket desk where there is a person who will sell you the ticket. So there are 2 kind of tickets. There's a ticket that you get an assigned seat, those are the most comfortable ones, and there's a ticket that you can go into cabin number 4 and 5, I think, and in the hallway it's like a free seat ticket. It's like a little bit more cheap, but it's almost the same, and then you kind of need to hurry into the train and try to get a seat. It gets full very quickly, so it's better to get assigned seats. Another train that is available is the KTX, that is like the high-speed train, and I took that train to go from Seoul to Busan. The tickets are a bit more expensive. You cannot really accidentally go into a KTX train. I think most of the times it's like separate rails for the KTX, because on some places there is a subway and an ITX coming on the same track, so you just make sure that you don't go in the wrong train or subway. The app that I use a lot to check the train schedules and for the ITX and the KTX is the Rail Talk. There you can see all the train times, and I think even the track numbers. You can even choose your seat. You have to make an account and link your credit card with it, and then you can also buy the ticket with your app, so that's really convenient. Another app that is really useful when you're traveling with the subway is Kakao Metro, and with this app you see the whole map of the city that you're in. Well, let's say Seoul, and you see all these metro lines, and you can click on the place from A to B, and then it will say which lines you have to take and how long it will take. And also a nice thing that it says is nearest exits, so you can see which cabin you have to go in, so when you go out and you have to transfer, the walking distance is shorter. So I think that's really useful, and it also shows in how many minutes the train is arriving. And the nice thing in Korea is the trains and subways are, well, let's say 95% of the time on time, which for me is very surprising, because in the Netherlands let's just not even start. Ines is always late, so I'm really happy that you can kind of rely on the apps and on the trains. Two other apps that I use for navigation are Kakao Map and Naver Map. I mostly use Kakao Map, but these are two apps that are used a lot here. It's a bit like Google Maps, but then a Korean version. Some other useful tips for when you're in Korea is 1. There is free toilet everywhere, and that's so amazing because I just like the idea that I don't need to hold my pee all the time. In all the subways there's free toilets, also in all the department stores, and also if you go to a cafe you usually don't mind if you use the bathroom, so that is really nice. Taxis. If you want to take a taxi, you can know if it's free if there is a red sign in his window. Just do like taxi. No, you don't need to scream, but you just wave your hands clearly and then it will come. It's good to know that you should stand in a location where it can stop, but most of the times the taxis will stop everywhere, so that's really nice. The Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi in Korea is really quick, and almost everywhere you can get free Wi-Fi. For my stay I ordered a SIM card with unlimited data on the website Klook, but it's not necessary. You can, I think you can also manage to have your stay without a SIM card and just use the Wi-Fi everywhere. A tip that I got from my mom and my aunt, well, I experienced it with them, is the food in the department stores. If you go to a department store, if you go to a bit newer or fancier one, you have the Lotte department, the Shinsegae, the Hyundai Seoul. All these department stores have a thing around 5-6 p.m. often on the B1 floor, that the food that they sell the food for cheaper, but you can get like a lot of food, like 2 boxes for 10,000 won or even less, so that's good to know. My aunt and my mom did it often as when they were a student, but you can save a lot of money and have a lot of nice foods. Lastly, I want to share some things in Korean culture that are just good to know. Just to know that Korean people are not rude or something, it's just something that people do over here. The first thing is people don't hold doors for you. It's not a thing. I've been doing it for people, but Korean people react kind of surprised, like, oh, thank you so much that you're holding the door for me. But it's just something that they don't do over here. Don't consider it as rude, it's just not a thing. Another really nice thing is there is no tip in restaurants. So you just pay the amount that it says on the bill and you don't pay extra or less, because I think the tip is included. Well, I'm actually not sure, but they just don't do tip. And lastly, if you go into the subway, I think in most of the places, or the way how I grew up, is you first wait until the people go out of the subway and then the people go into the subway. Here, they don't do that. Most of the times people are just really focused on getting a seat in the subway. So when it's really busy, you try to go out. It's sometimes even really hard to go out because there's a lot of people trying to come in, so you kind of need to fight your way out and people are pushing, and it's not always like that, but often people don't really wait until the people came out. People just go in, and I don't know if it's considered as rude in Korea because some people wait, but yeah, just don't get frustrated if people are already coming in when you want to go outside, because it's just a thing that happens a lot. So these were my tips and tricks to survive your stay in Korea. I hope these will be useful for you, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. I'll stay here for another few weeks and then I'm going back to the Netherlands, so I hope you will have a good time in Korea. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye!